The rumor about single fathers followed Elias Mercer everywhere like a shadow that refused to shorten, even under the brightest midday sun. It showed up in sideways looks at the school gate, in the polite but distant smiles at office potlucks, and in the careless jokes people made when they thought kindness was optional. On the morning everything changed, Elias stood in the glow of late spring daylight, holding a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold, feeling the familiar weight of being judged before being known. He was tired in the quiet, bone-deep way that only responsibility brings, and yet there was something steady about him, something that had learned how to stand its ground. What no one saw was how close he had come to believing the lie himself, until one teasing remark cut deeper than intended and woke a part of him that had been patiently waiting. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us how fragile assumptions can be, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Matters. Your support keeps these stories alive. Elias had not planned on being a single father. Life had made that decision abruptly on a bright afternoon years earlier, leaving him with a small apartment flooded with daylight, a growing boy named Rowan, and a calendar that never seemed to have enough hours. He worked as a facilities manager at a community arts center, a job that paid modestly but let him be present during the day, walking Rowan to school under clear skies and picking him up before sunset. The building itself was old but full of warmth, sunlight spilling through tall windows onto scuffed wooden floors, and Elias had learned to fix what broke, both in the walls and, slowly, in himself. His days were practical and repetitive, and yet he found a quiet pride in their rhythm, in lunches packed with care and evenings spent helping with homework while the sky shifted from blue to gold. The teasing came from a place he had not expected. Mara Bellwood was a visiting program coordinator, sharp-eyed and effortlessly confident, with a laugh that filled rooms and a habit of speaking before thinking when she felt comfortable. She arrived like a burst of noon light, efficient and warm, the kind of person people leaned toward. During a planning session held in the sunlit lobby, surrounded by posters and potted plants, the conversation drifted toward relationships in that careless way people do when they feel safe. Someone mentioned dating struggles, and Mara, half smiling, half joking, glanced at Elias and made a remark about single dads being too busy, too tired, too wrapped up in responsibility to truly please a woman. It was meant to be light, a tease thrown into the air like confetti, but it landed squarely in a place Elias had kept guarded. He did not respond with anger or embarrassment. Instead, something calm and unexpected rose in him, a certainty forged by years of showing up when it mattered most. He leaned forward slightly, meeting Mara's gaze with steady eyes, not defensive, not flirtatious, just grounded. The room seemed to pause, sunlight hovering in the dust motes between them, and in that quiet moment, he made a choice. He would not let a careless assumption define him. He would not shrink. That choice, small as it seemed, shifted the course of the days that followed. Mara noticed the change before Elias did. It showed in how he moved through the building with an ease that felt newly claimed, in the way he spoke about his work and his son without apology. She had always admired competence, but there was something deeper in watching a man who carried responsibility with grace rather than resentment. As the program progressed, their paths crossed more often, always in the bright hours of the day, discussing schedules, logistics, community outreach. Elias listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions, never interrupting, never posturing. Mara found herself surprised by how safe she felt around him, how the teasing confidence she wore like armor softened into genuine curiosity. Elias, for his part, wrestled with an internal tug of war. He had built his life to be sturdy, predictable, focused on Rowan's needs, and he had learned to keep emotional doors closed during daylight hours when work demanded clarity. Yet Mara's presence stirred something he had carefully packed away. He noticed the way she treated people, how she bent to speak to children at eye level during workshops, how she stayed late not for praise, but to make sure things were done right. He noticed how she asked about Rowan not out of politeness, but with interest, remembering details, offering suggestions that came from listening rather than judgment. The assumption she had made lingered like a bruise, but so did the possibility of understanding. Rowan sensed the shift too. Children are experts at reading emotional weather, and during one sunlit afternoon at the park, As Elias watched his son climb and laugh, he realized how much of his own identity had become wrapped in being enough for someone else. Rowan had given him purpose, but Elias had forgotten he was allowed to want companionship, to want to be seen as more than a role. The realization did not feel selfish, it felt honest. It arrived with the warmth of the sun on his face and the sound of children playing, grounding him in the present. The Community Arts Center hosted an open house one Saturday, sunlight streaming through every window, music echoing softly in the halls. Families wandered, laughter mingled with conversation, and the air felt hopeful. Mara and Elias worked side by side, guiding visitors, answering questions, sharing small smiles when things went right. At one point, Rowan joined them, proud to show his father's workplace, his presence a quiet testament to the life Elias led. Mara watched the interaction with a thoughtful expression, seeing the tenderness Elias carried so naturally, the patience, the way he knelt to Rowan's level without thinking. The teasing comment from weeks earlier echoed in her mind, now sounding hollow. Change rarely announces itself loudly. It unfolds in moments of recognition, in apologies offered without spectacle, in assumptions quietly dismantled. For Mara, it came as an awareness of her own armor, the way she used humor to keep vulnerability at bay. For Elias, it was the courage to let himself be seen beyond his responsibilities. They did not rush toward romance. Instead, they built something slower, grounded in mutual respect and the shared daylight hours of work and community. Challenges remained, as they always do. Elias struggled with guilt, with the fear that wanting more meant taking something away from his son. Mara confronted her own patterns, the way she dismissed depth in favor of ease. There were misunderstandings, moments of hesitation, days when the old assumptions threatened to resurface. But each time, they chose patience. They chose to listen. They chose kindness, not as a grand gesture, but as a daily practice. One afternoon, as summer edged closer, they found themselves talking quietly in the lobby after most people had left, sunlight slanting low but still bright, illuminating the dust and the dreams held within those walls. The air felt different, charged not with tension, but with possibility. Elias spoke about his fears, his hopes, the balance he tried to maintain. Mara listened without interrupting, her earlier teasing a distant memory replaced by genuine respect. In that shared space, something settled into place, not a dramatic declaration, but a mutual understanding that they were willing to see each other clearly. Time moved forward, as it does, carrying them through routines and small milestones. Rowan grew comfortable with Mara's presence, not as an intrusion, but as an addition, someone who respected the bond between father and son. The community center flourished under their combined efforts, becoming a brighter hub for connection and creativity. Elias found that the steadiness he brought to fatherhood translated into partnership, into a capacity for care that did not diminish but expanded. As the days grew longer, Elias reflected on how close he had come to accepting a narrow definition of himself. The teasing remark that once stung now felt like a catalyst, a challenge that had invited him to step forward rather than retreat. He realized that pleasing someone was never about grand gestures or perfect availability. It was about presence, empathy, and the courage to show up fully, even when tired, even when afraid. Just before the ending of this story, take a moment to comment below and share your thoughts, because your words matter here. Near the close of summer, during another sunlit gathering at the center, Elias watched Mara laugh with a group of children, her earlier confidence now tempered by warmth. He felt gratitude, not just for her, but for the journey that had led him here. The assumptions had not vanished from the world, but they no longer held power over him. He had learned that kindness begins with self-respect, and that second chances often start with challenging the stories we tell ourselves. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that people are more than the labels placed upon them, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps spread stories that believe in understanding and compassion. Under the steady glow of daytime light, Elias stood grounded, a single father no longer defined by what others thought he lacked, but by the quiet strength of what he had to give.